Supernatural Season 9, Episode 16, Blade Runners. This is a really good episode. I actually enjoyed it because the enemy of the episode was actually one of the Men of Letters, or at least a rogue member of the Men of Letters. And, it was cool to see all these different spells, kind of used to their max potential, really. Like, the guy had spells to drain people's will. He had a spell to pretty much live forever. I don't know if he was really immortal or anything like that. He obviously, wasn't invincible because his head got chopped off. But he had all these spells to stay young, and he hid his entire house basically like a dimensional rift type of thing. And I thought that was really cool. But I liked this character, and he was still kind of in the '40s mindset. Like he obviously stayed where he was, like in his mansion for pretty much forever. So I thought it was really cool to get that guy as a character. Obviously, he turned out to be a villain, so he won't come back as like a guy who can teach them some spells or stuff, which kind of sucks. But it gave us some spells that they may or may not learn somehow in the future, and I'd love to see. Even if it's not them who learn the spells, if like another character comes in who does know these spells and somehow they find this house or whatever, they take them to the house and say like, hey, this guy was, like the master of spells or something like that. You should go ahead and, check out his archives and stuff like that. So that would be cool if they somehow keep some of the things that character introduced within the show. Because I'd love to see, some cool spells like that really get used. But love the episode. The guys have to go get Crowley because he's been off the reservation since he and Dean went out for Kane, and he's supposed to be looking for the first blade. They don't know where he is. They don't know if he found it. They don't know what's happening. And we found out in this episode that he's kind of just, you know, obsessed with blood, almost like a vampire, but obviously not to survive, simply because it kind of gives him that high of, being human almost. And so, they deal with that, but even when he's in like his weird drunken haze, he's conscious enough to know, like the woman that he's sleeping with, who's getting him the blood and stuff. He knows that she betrayed him. So it was cool that he wasn't just like tricked by someone else, because that's kind of his thing. He is like the trickster of this show, even though they technically had one. But he's the guy who gets a one up on everybody else. So it was cool to see him still be conscious enough to take her out, and he kills her. And by the end of the episode, he's sobered up, and he takes the blade from Sam and Dean, and he kind of makes up his own rules at the end, like I'll hold on to this, that way you guys don't have all the power. Once you find her, then we'll figure some stuff out. Now I'll give you the blade. But the episode, it did one of the best things it did was definitely gave us our first taste of Dean using the first blade. And I from the very first episode that it was introduced, where Kane said using this blade comes at a risk, I knew it had to be rage. Like it made the most sense. It had to be like an uncontrollable amount of rage. And that's exactly what happened when he first held on to it. You could kind of tell, but the second time was when they flat out just said he's gonna get lost in his own mental thoughts, and all of those thoughts are gonna be consumed with rage. And he was looking at Dean, and it kind of seems like the main focus would be, even though he'd be driven with rage to where he could really just kill anyone, I think the focus would drive him to kill his brother, just because it's Cain and Abel. So with them being brothers, I think when Dean eventually does end up using the blade, by the time he does it, it could kind of consume him to the point where he kind of goes after Sam. And I'd love to see that happen, where somehow they have to find a way to get Dean out of this crazy mode, and maybe he has a ton of strength or something like that. I don't know, but obviously the blade is made out of bone, so I would think he'd have to have some form of extra strength to like decapitate the one guy that he did. But that could have easily just been it's kind of imbued with magic or something like that, so that's what makes it easy to just kill people. But either way, he has this powerful weapon that can take down Knights of Hell, which he's obviously going to use on Abaddon. So I'm curious to see when we actually get to see him fight against that rage, because I know we're going to get that at some point. It might even be the first time he comes up against Abaddon, like he's going to use it, and then maybe she manipulates him mentally, and he kind of switches focus to some, you know, maybe Sam or somebody else who isn't, you know, really the main drive like he was going for. But you know, I'm definitely excited to see that. But love this episode. Like I said, the guy using all the spells I thought was really cool. Of course, Crowley's back, so that's always really funny. And him kind of sobering up was good. And he's, you know, back in his top form, so he's gonna be off doing his thing, and he's gonna try to rally the troops. We got hints of Abaddon here and there. She's obviously really stepping up to the plate. Like even, you know, the woman who was working with Crowley, she mentioned how even the loyalists, or no, it was like this Nikki Crossroads demon. She mentioned how like even loyalists were still like, you know, maybe we should switch to Abaddon's side at this point because, you know, we don't know where Crowley is or what the heck he's doing. So I'll be excited to see him, you know, really rally the troops up and see how Abaddon manipulates everyone into getting into her side. Because in the beginning, if you guys remember, she didn't really have like any power whatsoever. She was like, you know, I'm gonna take over, and people were just like, we don't know who the heck you are. You're just like someone who came through time. You know, you got nothing. But you know, now that Crowley's kind of been, you know, MIA, she's got a lot of power now. She's been rallying troops to her own side. So I'm excited to see this kind of come to a head in the season finale. I'm not sure how many episodes we have left, but you know, they're going to be ramping it up soon, and they definitely are now that we've got the Blade in the show. I'm really excited just to see all the crazy problems and solutions, you know, that might come from Dean just getting his hands on that blade one more time. But comment below, let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Favorite parts, least favorite parts, and what struggles do you guys think we're going to see from Dean, you know, with him having to use the Blade of Cain. Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.